did not get the title. We are going to be diving into the conversation of why most people quit their goals by the month of February and how we can stay in command as it relates to us moving our lives forward. Family, stay on track. Stay in alignment with your goals. Double down your efforts. Remain disciplined and stay consistent. These are foundational principles that we all know will assist us in achieving anything worthwhile. I'm talking about the meaningful work as leaders that we're aiming to accomplish in life. We know the principles of success, but here's the truth, and this is what we have to understand. Family, there's a huge difference between knowing what to do and doing what it is that we know. What we must do in order for us to build momentum towards positive results in the month of February, we got to get into the habit of doing what it is that we know. Today, I want to break down some practical things that you can begin to integrate in your day-to-day life starting now that will assist you in being consistent, remaining disciplined, and most importantly, staying on track and in alignment with your goals. To begin the conversation, if you will, please comment below, family. Do what you know. Do what you know. Because there's a huge difference between knowing what we need to do and actually doing that necessary work. And this is where many people fall short. In fact, real quick, the other day, I was reading an interesting article where they had a statistic that kind of blew my mind, right? As I'm reading this article, it surprised me, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised, if you get where I'm coming from. In this article, it said 80 to 90% of goals are abandoned by the month of February. Last time I checked, it's February 2nd, right? February 2nd. So what that article is saying in this very moment, at this time, many people that started the year of 2026, new year, new me. This is what I'm setting after to accomplish. This is what I'm having the intention to achieve. This is what I'm stepping closer towards in the new year. I've got goals. I've got aspirations. I've got a new vision. I want to reinvent my life. I want to break generational cycles. I want to step into the new. Many people that made these declarations at the top of the year, by this time, as we approach February and enter into this month, these same very people are opting out of their goals, stepping away from that vision, no longer taking the necessary steps to reinvent the reality, falling back into that old cycle or their old programming that created those generational cycles, so to speak, right? 80 to 90% of people. And what I've learned is this. As I've worked with leaders, as I've empowered organizations, as I've spoken at many events and came across many people that are doing amazing things, one thing I've noticed is this. Most people, they don't just simply walk away from their goals. They don't just simply abandon them, right? Or throw in the towel and quit. That's not the case. But the average person, the majority of people, what happens is this. They wake up one day and they soon begin to realize that they've simply been living their life on autopilot. On autopilot, right? Where they find themselves resorting back to what was comfortable, resorting back to what was familiar, going back to what used to be rather than building what can be. And what we have to understand is this, family. In order for us to really move forward, we have to be willing to break our historical patterns. Last week, I was having a conversation with a client, and this client, right, at the top of the year, they had clear intentions, in fact, strong intentions, a game plan. We mapped out, hey, this is what we're aiming to do. This is what we're aiming to accomplish. And we had an accountability call, and I'm speaking with this individual, and it was soon evident that this person was not moving at the same rate, at the same pace, with the same level of urgency as they were at the top of the year. Again, we had strong intentions. We had a clear game plan, right? We mapped out each and every step that we're going to take. But it was evident that this individual wasn't really moving with that sense of urgency no longer, right? And here's the part that mattered the most. This person never even realized it, right? This individual really, it went over their head because you're just in the hustle and bustle of life. You find yourself in this cycle. And again, what was happening with this leader was they were resorting back to what was familiar. Because a lot of times when we're building something new, when we're working towards a goal, it's gonna call us or require us rather to step outside of what's familiar, to step outside of our natural comfort zone. And this, of course, is going to be discomforting. And for many of us, we would either make decisions that are going to lead us towards our comfort rather than making decisions that are going to disrupt it, so to speak. If you guys picking up what I'm putting down. So as we're having this conversation, I'm bringing to the forefront of this individual's mind that listen, you're not doubling down on your efforts. You're not necessarily challenging yourself. You're not necessarily going above and beyond to really step into where you're aiming to go. You're simply just doing what has gotten you to this point. And if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always gotten, right? You've got to be willing to disrupt this pattern to step into something new. Those old habits cannot creep in. You've got to stand at the gate of your consciousness and make the executive decision that we're going to do things different. That old approach is not going to give me access to new opportunities and new results and greater outcomes. You've got to make the decision I'm going to step into the new, even if it requires me to disrupt what makes me feel comfortable. Because again, as I was having this conversation with this individual, their decisions were being made out of convenience instead of commitment. And if you want to put like some principles into this conversation, let's start making decisions that are based upon our commitments rather than what makes us comfortable and what seems to be convenient, family. But in this person's defense, this wasn't intentional. It was all because they were resorting back to their familiar conditioning and what seemed to feel comfortable. And again, this is common. How many of us in this broadcast can honestly say, put a number one in the chat or just, yeah, that's me, that, hey, that goal, that vision, that dream that you set after at the top of the year, that momentum is starting to slow down, right? Because life is kicking in. Reality is setting still in this moment. Maybe you've experienced some challenges and some setbacks, and it's been rough and it's been difficult, and you find yourself resorting back to what is familiar. Where, again, we know what to do, but knowing what to do hasn't necessarily translated into doing what it is that we know. I say that to say, again, it's common. 80 to 90% of people fall into this category. But here's what we need to do. Here's some practical things that we can begin to integrate that will assist us in overcoming this. I'll lead it by saying this. To get to where you're aiming to go, to achieve what you're aiming to accomplish in the year of 2026, is going to require a new level of ownership. Everybody comment below ownership. It's going to require a new level of ownership. You taking command over your focus, taking command over your actions, taking command over your daily decisions, and making sure they're keeping you in alignment with who you're aiming to become and what you're aiming to experience in the new year. Meaning you've got to consciously decide there's going to be moments when you feel like opting out of your commitments. But I can't make a decision that's based upon convenience. I've got to make decisions that are based upon my commitments, my non-negotiables, my priorities, and the things that I value and matter the most to me. This has to be your mindset in order for us to move the needle towards growth, progress, and expansion. You've got to take command over your life. Now, here's how we're going to do that, okay? I'm going to break down 3 simple things that we can begin to do, beginning right now. So as we step into the month of February, as we step into this new week, again, John, this week has new opportunities and endless possibilities. There's many opportunities and blessings with every single one of our names on them. We've got to be the ones that own them. We've got to retrieve them. We've got to claim them. And we can't just wish for it. We got to work for it. So practical things that we can begin to do. Number 1 is this. Very simple, but extremely powerful. Get a note card. And I want you to write your goals down on this note card. I'm talking about right now. After this broadcast concludes and ends, find you a note card. If you can't find a note card, open up your notes app in your phone and type in your goals. Write down your goals on that note card. That's number one. Number two, write down why those goals matter to you. Why is it important for you to accomplish this specific goal? Why is it important for you to show up and to build that vision? Here's what we're doing. In order for us to build momentum, in order for us to create progress, we have to be intellectually involved with our goals as well as emotionally invested. Intellectually involved, meaning I know what it is that I want, right? When I know what it is that I want by default, I know what I don't want. So I'm dictating where I'm directing my focus. And by writing it down and holding on to this note card, I can stay reminded of it on a consistent basis. In fact, I recommend reading it out loud 2 to 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, midday in the afternoon, and right before you go to bed. I want this thing to be top of mind, right? At the head of my consciousness. Before the problems begin to arise in my thought patterns, I want to think of my goals. As I'm navigating my day to day and challenges begin to creep in, remind myself of my goals. As I lay my head down, instead of thinking about nightmares and things that make me anxious and fearful, I want to think about the goals that I'm aiming to experience and accomplish. Promoting some positive emotions, and you're creating a cycle where you're connected intellectually with your goals. And then number two, if I remind myself of why I want to do what I want to do, now I'm creating some level of emotion and I'm investing myself in these goals. And keep in mind, family, emotion is the greatest influence on our behavior. You move and think differently when you're angry in comparison to when you're positive and joyful and excited, right? So by you reminding yourself of why you want to do what you want to do, you're stimulating those very same emotions, which will equip you to navigate life's challenges more effectively. Because there's going to be some setbacks, there's going to be some temporary moments of defeat. But if I'm emotionally invested in what it is that I want and I stay reminded of it, I'm going to find a way to navigate those difficulties and rise above them. So that's number one. Get the note card. As you get that note card, write the goals down, write down what you're aiming to accomplish, and write down why it's important to you. Awareness is what stimulates consistency. If I'm aware of what it is that I want to accomplish, I can stay consistent with it, okay? Number two is this. As we lead into this week, notice the word I used, lead. I want you to lead into this week, and I want you to make value-based decisions. Everybody comment below, value-based decisions. Because again, like the client that I mentioned earlier, many of us fall into that category where we wake up and we're living life by default. We're doing what's convenient, making choices based upon our comfort, what's familiar, and what seems to be right and easy, so to speak, right? But that's not going to necessarily support our growth, our progress, and our expansion with our goals. No, I've got to make decisions that keep me in alignment with my vision, my purpose, and my goals. And I've got to be intentional about doing it. So every single day, you want to ask yourself, is what I'm doing today going to support the life that I'm aiming to experience? Is what I have on my agenda on this morning or this afternoon going to support my growth and my expansion as it relates to the vision that I'm building? Is the decisions that I'm making, are they assisting me in leading a purpose-driven life? You want to build awareness around that. And as you build awareness around that, you want to make the executive decision that I'm going to make decisions that are value-based, that align me with the things that I'm aiming to experience, the person I'm aiming to become, and the life that I'm aiming to build. That's number two. And number three is this. I'll give this for a bonus. As you're making value-based decisions, as you remind yourself of what you're aiming to do on that note card and why you're aiming to do it, number three is get into the habit of encouraging yourself. Get into the habit of encouraging yourself. Because for many people that fall into that category of 80 to 90% of people that abandon their goals in the month of February, many of them fall into those patterns. But some individuals, life hits them. The struggle gets real. And they feel intimidated, they get discouraged, they feel defeated, and they give up. You've got to get into the habit of reminding yourself of how resilient you truly are. You've got to get into the habit of reminding yourself of the power that's at work within you. You've got to get into the habit of reminding yourself of the capacity that you carry to overcome challenges, to create solutions to problems, and to navigate adversity and rise above whatever life throws at you. Yeah, when life hits you, remind yourself, I can do this, I can build this, I'm going to make it, I'm going to achieve this. We're not going to stay here. I'm not stuck in this situation. I'm going to create something good out of what seems to be bad. I'm going to rise above it. Get into the habit of speaking life over you, your goals, your family, and what you're building for your life. Because for many people, they allow that voice in their head to convince them that they're not good enough, they can't handle it, they don't have what it takes, and they throw in the towel. You've got to be the one that encourages yourself, speaks life over yourself, and you rise above the difficult moments and create something positive, even in the midst of a negative situation. Because here's the kicker, family. Anytime you find something positive in a negative situation, you win. And when you make it a habit of seeking out value in what you're experiencing and you encourage yourself, this is how you rise above life's obstacles. This is how you don't become a victim of circumstance, but instead you become a creator of circumstance because you leverage the power of your mind and your belief begins to shape the reality that you create. That's something that'll teach right there, family. Your belief will always carry more power than your reality. For many people, you've simply just been conforming to your reality, and that's been shaping what you believe. No, let's reverse engineer that process. Allow what you believe to shape what you are experiencing and the reality that you build. And that's what's going to create a positive change. That's what's going to create positive outcomes and new levels of experiences for your life. It starts right here in your mind. We've said a lot of things during today's conversation, family. But again, if you don't get anything else, the call to action as we approach this week's opportunities, write your goals down. Remind yourself of what you're aiming to do and why it's important to you. Number 2, make value-based decisions. Get into the habit of aligning yourself with the person that you're aiming to become and the life that you want to experience. And number 3, get into the habit of speaking life and encouraging yourself because times will get challenging. The road may get rough, but when it gets rougher, you get tougher and find a way to persist until you succeed. And it all starts the story and the narrative that you repeat in your mind. So as you get into the habit of speaking life and encouraging yourself, you tap into that power that assists you in pressing towards the challenges and rising above them. Family, we've said a lot. Let me wrap this thing up before we start another train. If you slid into the broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if in fact this is your first time, or maybe it's your first time in a long time tuning into the broadcast, I welcome you and I want to shout you out as well. Put a number 1 in the chat if you will, please. And then place your first name afterward. Again, put a number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere on whatever part of the globe you're tuning into this broadcast found some value from this discussion. If so, if you were picking up what your boy D1 was putting down, put a number 1 in the chat, some fist up in the chat, something in the chat, some emojis to let me know that you benefited from today's discussion. Mia says the road may get rougher. However, I'm tougher. That's the mindset. Drum roll, please. Absolutely. Bruce is in the building. My brother from another mother. Hope all is well with you and Amelia and the entire family. Happy New Year to you. Coming to us by way of Oregon. Felicia says, I like that. Absolutely. Got my beautiful and amazing wife tapped in. Great day to you, Angel. Yes, sir. Ownership, John. Again, we got to connect soon, brother. Hope all is well with you. Mamie Ware is coming to us by way of California, out there bright and early on the West Coast. Glad to have you tapped in live. But family, again, if you did find value from today's discussion, please share the inspiration out with the people that you personally care about. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as X, formerly known as Twitter. Salute to everybody watching this on X. I don't know who you are. Again, we can't see your comments in the chat, but you're out there, right? You're out there, incognito, tapped in the cut, just tuning into the broadcast. Salute to you. But family, as we do wrap this thing up, if we have yet to connect on other social media platforms, be sure to connect with your boy. I'm at D, the number 1 Gibson, on both Instagram as well as Facebook. You guys have heard me reference my YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/David Gibson. Be sure to subscribe there. That's where all of my long form content is available, short films and documentary series, all designed to help you stay empowered. I'm also on LinkedIn, so be sure to connect with me on that platform. And from time to time, individuals ask how they can contribute to this mission and the purpose that we are working towards and empowering leaders like yourself. They're looking to financially support us. You can connect with me on Cash App. That's money sign D, the number one Gibson. Again, money sign D, the number one Gibson. Would truly appreciate your support as we continue to work towards empowering leaders so they can show up and become the best version of themselves. Also, for more information on my speaking and coaching services, be sure to connect to my website. That's www.elevationisAmust.com. Again, www.elevationisAmust.com. With that being said, family, as we wrap this thing up, if you find yourself in a difficult situation or challenging experience, just remember that this too shall pass. It's only temporary. I'm going to say that again. I feel like somebody needs to hear this. It's only for a moment. It won't last forever. It's only temporary. So don't you give up. Instead, give in. Don't you quit. Instead, rise above it. Don't throw in the towel. No, you keep throwing your hands to knock this challenge out because it's not bigger than you. You're greater than it. And when you start tapping into your personal power and you rise above this, I promise you, you're going to look back and recognize it was necessary for me to experience what I'm experiencing because it qualified me for my next level. That's the mindset that we got to have, family. If nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, your brother D1 Gibson has nothing but love for each and every single one of you sincerely. Now, with that being said, let's pay it forward. Yeah, you feel inspired. You feel empowered. Let's apply what we discussed, but most importantly, be advocates for positivity. Be ambassadors for love. There's a lot of negativity in the world around us, a lot of hatred. We got to be the ones that shine light. We got to be the ones that make a positive difference. It starts and ends with you. The leader that you're looking for is within you. Instead of looking out the window to seek out the answer, look in the mirror. And that's where the solution is. That's how we create positive changes in our families, in our communities, and the world around us. It starts and ends with you. So pay it forward. Shine your light. Encourage the next man. Spread love. Be kind. Encourage somebody else. You never know what people are going through. Put a smile on your face. A small gesture, like a smile. You never know the positive impact that can have on somebody's life. They may have hit rock bottom, on the verge of giving up, not just on their goals, but life itself. And you, holding that door and putting a smile on your face, is signaling to them that they're seen, that they matter, that they're loved. So don't take that lightly, family. Let's continue again to be ambassadors of love and advocates for positivity. As we wrap this thing up, family, today and every day this week, be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, be powerful. I thank you all for tuning in. I'm hoping again that you found some value in today's broadcast. We shall be back at it next week. That's Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you all there. Peace.